I worked in the Fortune 500. I went through Rebrands in the Fortune 500.
Yes.
I worked with some of the biggest branding firms in New York City as a corporate decision maker, and they don't hold a torch to the beautiful, stunning precision type of work that your firm does.
All right. Hey, everyone. Rewers here, CEO and founder of Branding for the People. And I'm especially excited to chat with my dear friend, Angelique Rewers of now BoldHaus. And we'll be talking about her new brand momentarily. But I'm excited for you to learn about her journey, her experience in the branding process. And maybe you can learn something new about what might be available for you as you think about building your brand or rebranding or taking your brand to the next level. So Angelique, what's up?
Oh my God, I'm so excited to talk about this. And I'm so glad we're doing this now because we've been living with our brand for, I guess, 8 months now, 6 to 8 months. And so being this far into the process, we have great perspective now that we're living the brands, so it's great.
I can't wait to learn all about it. Okay, so just for context, why don't you set the stage for what was the problem that you were trying to solve that had you embark upon going through a branding exercise?
Yeah, so we were originally the corporate agent. And so it was suggested by a business coach at the time. And I was like, you know what, that works. That's cool. I just got to get this business off the ground. So we went with the corporate agent. And that was, so it was kind of a spur of the moment decision. And the marketplace was a very different marketplace in 2009, 2010. And so we lived with that brand for a decade plus. And the couple of challenges we had, the first was we couldn't trademark it. The second problem that we had is that it caused market confusion.
Okay.
Yeah, so people thought we were sort of like a talent agency, that we would, go book them. Versus understanding that the word agent was more sort of like the spy agent, that secret agent on the inside of corporate, because we really have insider knowledge most people don't have about working with corporate. So it was really about that sort of secret agent, but people would often interpret it as this sort of talent agency, sort of like we're your agent in Los Angeles booking you, right? So there was market confusion. It was really tough from a search engine optimization perspective because that terminology is also used in the legal world. It was boring. I don't think that, I think like—
And you're so not a boring person.
I'm so not boring, and our company isn't boring, and the work we do isn't boring. And it really lacked personality. So I think we had a personality mismatch, sort of an essence of our company mismatch. We had legal issues with not being able to trademark it. We had market confusion. And I think there was always something in me that didn't feel like that was it, but it worked. So we built the business quite broadly. I mean, we have clients in 72 countries. So it got us where we needed to go, but it was not going to get us where we wanted to go.
Angelique is masterful, is like the person to go to if you are particularly a professional services, have a professional services business, and you want to land and tap into this $1 trillion market with corporate contracts. Angelique is a person to go to. So what was the turning point for you to then say, what's that next level?
Yeah, I think so. One thing for us, so it was ironic because the day that we announced the new brand was the same day that we got the notification that we had made the Inc. 5000 list. Yeah. And so we did really grow this business under the other brand. So I can never fault the other brand from that perspective. But I think what happens is the marketplace changes. And there's a lot more noise today in the market. When I started this business, and really we started working with small business owners way back in 2007. So we're talking, 15, 16 years of experience in that space. And the market now is really noisy. There are a lot of people who kind of throw up shingles and say they're experts in various things, and they're really, frankly, not, and so we really wanted to have a brand that could be trademarked, but also represented our community, because as amazing as our proprietary processes and strategies are, the thing that really separates us from the rest is the fact that we've been building this community since 2007. I actually have someone in our BoldHaus collective now who literally was the very first small business owner that we ever worked with back in 2007 is still with us.
Wow.
It is just, and that's incredible, right?
That's incredible.
And so I knew that we needed a brand that galvanized our community and also paid homage to our community. And so I felt like as we look at the next decade and we look at just the amount of growth that we want to have, I needed a brand that really created the space to do that. And frankly, forgive the pun a little bit, but the boldness to do that.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of felt that from me when we first started on the process, that I was really ready and I was clear and driven and just really had no, it was sort of like no holds barred for me, I think, at that point.
To be honest, it was actually the perfect recipe for us to collaborate, work well together, because myself and our agency always does our best work when someone's just ready, they're all in. So truth be told, we've known each other both when we were starting out our businesses. Yes. So we've known each other for quite some time. But why did you ultimately end up hiring Branding for the People, hiring me? What was the decision point that had you say yes? I
think there was a part of me that always knew that I was going to work with you. And at the same time, as a responsible CEO and business owner, I had to go talk to multiple folks before I made the final decision. It would just be really, I think, not to look at sort of options as CEO of a fast growing Inc. 5000 company. Like, that's silly. So part of our due diligence, we're like, let's go have these conversations with other folks before we make this investment, because this brand is a brand we're going to live with presumably until the company is sold 20 years in the future, or I die and we get rid of, till the end, right? Yes, like this is the brand. This is the horse I'm riding into the sunset. Let's put it that way. So I knew it was a really important decision. But the reason why I always knew that I'd work with Branding for the People was a few reasons. One, I'm obsessed with your design aesthetics coming out of your firm. And I think, if you look at branding companies, you will often see a fingerprint or a fragment of a DNA in their branding style. There is some cohesion from one brand to another. There's that fingerprint from the CEO or that lead strategist in a company, which is in your case you. And I've always been absolutely obsessed and in love with your design aesthetic. I love beautiful things. I love things that are just candy to the eye. And I think that your firm, look, I worked in the Fortune 500. I went through Rebrands in the Fortune 500. Yes. I worked with some of the biggest branding firms in New York City as a corporate decision maker, and they don't hold a torch to the beautiful, stunning precision type of work that your firm does. Mm-hmm. The second reason that I worked with you guys is because you've worked with both corporate and small business. So number one, you have that ability of understanding the true full, like end-to-end spectrum of the business marketplace and what works in branding. And we actually sell to both. So I needed a brand that could work for both corporate as well as small business. And you guys really straddle that. Most don't. You understand the sort of business coaching, personal development world. Yes. You understand the real like Inc. 5000 world. You understand the publicly traded world. Like, you understand all of it. Yeah. Where else can you find that? Another reason that we wanted to work with you guys is because I really believed, and I got to witness and go through the process of just like extracting out of us. Yeah. What makes us unique? What makes what makes us unique? What makes us different? What makes us appeal to the exact people that are our right fit clients? Yeah. So I knew you had that process dialed in. I knew it was proven, and I knew that the sharpest knife can't carve its own handle. And the last piece was because I wanted to work with a team that would bring love to the process, that would be kind and would be like in it with me, and they would be equally passionate about it. And I wasn't just going through a cold process of just put me through a machine and there's no emotional connection to the outcome on the other side. Like I wanted a team that I could trust, and you guys were that. And at the end of the day, it was really an effortless decision for me. Like there was so much more. And I know my clients, they end up telling us the same thing when they go through our process. It was just it's different when I'm the client, you know? And there were like so many amazing things that came out of the process alone. Before we had a logo, before we have design, before we have all this beautiful stuff like over my shoulder, you know, just the process alone, the value of just that process, man.
And you're referring to like the strategy process, right? Before we even touch logos.
Strategy called.
Yeah,
just like the strategy conversations, the discussions, the things that you asked us that we had to go consider and think about, like the thinking process, the discussion process, the give and take in the process, you guys saying something to us and me being like, oh no, wait, is that what I said? That's not what I meant. Is that, you know, and like really that whole thing was so enlightening for us and really shaped decisions that we've made as a business, things we've said yes to, things we've said no, where we put our resources, our messaging. That process was gold.
I love that. I'm so glad you said that, because when we're talking with prospects about branding, I always say you should have a brand strategy first. And so it feels so abstract for a lot of business owners because they can't really touch strategy. But once they actually go through the process, they get it. And they actually say like, oh, it really makes a lot of sense that we actually had to do all of that because it informs all of the downstream decisions and activities. So
one of my favorite benefits, my favorite outcome from the process, aside from just how in love and obsessed we are with the brand, but my secondary the secondary benefit that most people can't see when they look at our rebrand is how swiftly and powerfully we make decisions now because of having gone through the brand process.
That's like good.
Decisions you would never think would be affected by a brand process, and yet completely affects our brand process. And so we make decisions now. We always made fast decisions, but now it's just like lightning speed. And it's so clear because it's like, no, that's not who we are. Yes, that's exactly who we are. No, we don't want to do that. Yes, we do want to do that. And I mean, I don't know how you put a price tag on that.
You know, fast forward today, you know, what would you advise or what would you want to inspire people in and around the conversation of the importance of branding, even for a small business?
Yeah, I think first of all, given the noise today, you know, you're really just a commodity, I think, without a powerful brand. And so really establishing that, and there are just so many choices. I mean, you look at the Great Resignation and all of these people who've left companies, they're all starting their own businesses now. I think it was 2020 and 2021, both saw record numbers of small business applications, at least here in the United States, being established. The barrier to entry of having a business is so low. So I just don't know today, depending on what your business goal is, if you're really looking to build a business, not just have a hobby or not just basically be self-employed and catch as catch can, because there are some folks who they're maybe the second income in the household. So for them, it's like, you know, I'm going to take on some side projects. I'm not really looking to build something. But if you're really looking to build a tangible business, I don't know how you do it today without really saying, you know, how are we going to differentiate ourselves and also create a sense in the mind of our clients and in the marketplace, like how they should feel about working with us. Like, what do we want to emote in them when they're thinking about working with us? And, you know, I know that the pendulum has really swung to sort of this influencer brand and things like that. I think the opportunity right now to stand out from that is having a really powerful company brand. Not that you can't have a personal brand too, but I think that really thinking about not just having followers on Instagram, but saying this is like who we are as an organization. And when you transact with us, this is what that experience, you really have to have, I think, given that we all have sort of the attention span of a gnat these days, given reels and everything else. Like if you don't make that personal, emotional connection to your customers or your clients, you're going to have a really hard time because there's always something that's about to go across their screen of their phone 2 seconds later.
That's
And
right.
so if you don't want folks just kind of jumping all the time and really have longevity, I don't know how you do that today without a brand.
Yeah, you have to like grab them. And to speak into your name, the that boldness, having a strong personality, or just even having a distinct personality, right?
Yeah.
Some brands may not be as bold as your brand, but having a distinct personality so people can, it's almost like a pattern interrupt, as they say, right? You're like, oh, there's like the average Joe Schmo, and then there's like this brand. So let's talk about the naming.
Yeah.
So talk to me what that did for you. So, and I'm sure you get this question, oh, why did you name it this? Or maybe in a positive way and a negative way. So tell me what the name did for you and your company.
Is that first of all, the word bold, it's about us, but it's also really about our clients simultaneously. I am very unapologetic. I speak my mind. I'm very direct, but very practical in how we approach things. But I also think that the work that our clients are doing, I mean, when you think about the fact that we work with self-employed solo people, folks with just 2 people in their company, just 5 people, 10 people, 30 people in their company, and they're taking on the biggest brands in the world. They are speaking truth to power. They're coming forward in their keynotes and challenging audiences of thousands of people, sometimes leaders from big corporations, and saying, you have to think differently. The ideas that they challenge, the projects they take on, we have someone who's helped to build a women's entrepreneurial center in Rwanda. I mean, wow. The work that our community is doing is bold, and they are bold. And so what was really special to me about the name was that it both reflected me, it reflected our approach, our proprietary approaches, our revenue accelerators that are bold with our clients, and it reflected, and it was such a homage to our clients. And we have a deep love for our community. Like, it is it's very personal to me. And I am continuously in awe of these individuals day in and day out, Reese. So to have a name that says like, this is bold, and then the word house has various elements to it. I mean, part of the word came from a design aesthetic that also is something we're obsessed with, but also it sounds like house. And one thing that we heard from our clients since day one, and again, I said, we still have someone in our community all these years later who was part of this, one of my clients in 2007. And they say to us, Angelique, we might go over here to learn this strategy, or we might go over here to learn this strategy, but you're always the home that we come back to.
Oh, that's good.
Again and again. You are our home. Like, this community that you've created is our home. So to have a name BoldHaus that's like, they're the bold and we're the home, and then knowing too that there's sort of all these other layers to the names that people can't even see. Which I kind of like that element too. But that for me, has been something that it's very representative of exactly who we are. It's memorable. And it has some Easter eggs in there that my team and I know, right? So it's got the Easter eggs in there as well. So for all those reasons, that's what. And then I also think too, like, it was a pattern interrupt for people. They're like, whoa, BoldHaus, what? And I would say,
so unpredictable for, even though you're so much more than a coach, Angelique, you're so much more than that. But like, let's just say in the coaching industry, it's unprecedented in terms of naming, right? It's not like so on the nose of like, well, we won't need to mention names, but
they're going through people's heads right now, right? And we didn't want it to be like the Win Corporate Clients Coaching Company, like, right? Like that was not what I wanted. And I wanted a brand too that gave, like I said, that gave us the space to grow more, that not to be so limited, and give us that sort of flexibility. But it's very different. And so that's what the name did.
So I think this is going to be an important question for a lot of people, because they said, that's nice, Angelique. Well, of course you were successful, or you have this community. Yes, these all might seem like soft, touchy, feely kinds of stuff. People often want to know, what are the results? And here's the thing, it's only been 8 months in. So like, had we done this interview like 2 or 3 years later, like I've done with some of my clients, but
Yeah.
Are you able to articulate whether it's intangible or tangible results that you've been able to experience and enjoy since the rebrand?
Yeah, I mean, it's both. It's definitely both. And I think that where we first saw the sort of the pickup was, and there was obviously too, there's the sort of like, well, people are confused because they've never seen that brand. And so you're going to go through that period where you might have some market confusion and people are looking for one thing and now you're another thing. So there is that. But we, first of all, from a intangible, things like the clarity, the confidence, the ability to move faster, just the time saved on everything is unbelievable. Like my creative director and I were constantly laughing, like, if we didn't have this brand, there is no way this project would have gotten done in a week, because everything is cohesive, aligned. I can take something from over here and use it over here, and I don't have all this stuff lying around. So just from a time saving, I actually think time is pretty damn tangible when you're paying salaries. So there's that.
Yeah.
So there's that. The other thing though is like we really saw, so we actually hosted a conference in October, and we really saw a difference in the registrations around the conference, in the enrollment in our programs out of the conference.
And in terms of the number or the quality, or both?
Speed and quality.
Nice.
So like exactly who we wanted, very, very quickly, they were able to say, this is exactly where I want to be. This is exactly who I was going to work with, and exactly what I'm looking for. So just like the ease and also the joy of it. And I think that's, both tangible and intangible, because it was like folks knew right away. And that for me, I think is what we're going to really continue to see as we launch some new marketing campaigns, make some new marketing investments, that at the end of the day, what I want to be for people is an easy yes or no. Yes. Either we are your community or we're not your community. And if we're not, that's okay. Like love, light, blessings, by all means, every single person should work with the community and be a part of the community that resonates with them.
Yeah.
So so for us, it was the speed by which enrollments happen, and like just the ease of folks really feeling, is this the community that I want to be in, or is this not the community I want to be in? So I think those are pretty tangible results, and we're actually really just getting started. We've had such an influx of clients that we've had so much going on from a client delivery perspective that we've been a little quiet in some realms, while we have just, we're the type of folks who, instead of spending all of our time telling people what we're doing, we spend all of our time in the trenches with our clients. Yeah. And so, so we're actually just ramping up with this brand. There's a lot to come. And I feel comfortable making those investments now, because I know I'm doing it on the back of the right brand.
Yeah. I love that. And so I just want to honor and celebrate, because you actually are that type of savvy business owner and woman who had the foresight to take a step back, revisit your brand for the next 10 years, to actually do the work, because it was a process and it was an investment. Not just of money and time, your team's time, to really do all these things. And now you're starting to, like you said, just getting started, but you're now starting to reap the benefits, or at least start to see some of the immediate return. And I believe, and I'm always an advocate for you, that you're right, you are just getting started. So I'm looking forward to the next 10 years for you. I mean, maybe we should merge and just be BoldHaus for the people.
Right. I love it. I love it, Ray. No, I do. I think that folks need to understand that you don't build Inc. 5000 companies, or whatever the metric is that you're looking at, without making investments of time and money. And, and I think really when you do it, you also have to be all in to the process. And I know that we always say to our clients when they work with us, like, how do you want your clients to show up? Now, I want you to show up in our program in the same way. And so it was really important to us and our team that when we worked with you guys, that we showed up the exact same way that we want our clients to show up. And so I think it's not just about, making the investment and mentally being there. I think it's about energetically to have tremendous success, because people have come to us before and said, Angelique, you worked with this best business mentor and had all the success. I worked with that business mentor and didn't. And I know right away, it was probably a large part of how they showed up in that process. And I think what's so great about your team is how your team shows up in the process. And I think, again, there's a personal commitment that you guys, because you're really invested in the success of your clients. That's rare in the sort of agency world. And
that's a shame though. But yeah.
And I want to say that, because I know that I've worked with the Fortune 5, the big guys, the mid-sized guys, I've worked in that space. And just the way you guys show up, it was just an absolute, it was an amazing process.
I received that. Well, thank you again for just shedding your experience in going through the branding process, and also, to be honest, highlighting what it looks like to be, how to show up as a client, right? So I honor you. I celebrate you. Thank you so much, Angelique. And I look forward to the next time that we rendezvous together, hopefully in person with all of your branded swag and signage.
I would love it. Great. Love it.
All right. Well, peace out for now. Thanks so much, Angelique. Cheers.